Hi guys, welcome back to my channel today. If this is your first time coming here, you are welcome. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to draft out a pattern for a bustier with a yoke. I have my lace fabric here because this is a wedding dress I want to make for a client. But then I'm going to be showing you guys how to draft out the upper part. And this upper part is a bustier with a yoke, okay? So if you are interested in this, sit back and let's get started. The measurements you are going to be needing for this tutorial are your bust measurements, under bust measurements, your waist measurements, and then your front length and your back length. Okay, so guys, I'm going to mark out the top line, which you can see on top my pattern paper right now, and then I'm going to start with marking out my client's bust point, which is 10 inches. From there, leaving my tape on the shoulder line again, I'll mark out the under bust point 14 inches, and then my waist 17.5 inches. Her waist is actually 17 inches, but I use 17.5 because you need half an inch to join these upper bodies into the down part of the dress, okay, which is the skirt parts. I went ahead to draw my lines across, and from there I'm going to place my tape on the shoulder line and divide my shoulder into two, okay, and then from that point I'm going to come down by 1 inch, which is shoulder slope, and on the bust point line I'm going to go up by 1.5 inches. That will be the chest line, okay. Now I'm going to connect this chest line to the shoulder slope, and that is going to be the armhole depth, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and mark all my lines and then go ahead and label it, okay. So it's very important that you label all your lines so that you won't get yourself confused by the time you start inputting all your body measurements. So I have the shoulder line, chest line, bust point, under bust, and then the half length. So guys, next step you're going to take is to divide your armhole depth into two. Okay, so that line between the shoulder slope and the chest line is the armhole depth, and then whatever you have, go ahead and go in by half an inch. Okay, now you're going to leave it that way and go ahead on the chest line, divide your bust circumference by 4, whatever you have mark, and then add half an inch on the chest line, okay, because I like to have ease around my armhole so that I can easily raise my armhole, okay. So guys, from there we are going to go ahead and go down to the bust point, divide your bust circumference by 4, whatever you have, go ahead and mark it out right there, and then you're going to go down to the under bust point, divide your under bust circumference by 4, mark it, and then repeat the same thing on the waist, divide your waist circumference by 4 and also mark. And once you are done with all of this, go ahead and connect all your lines, and then the next step you're going to take is to use your armhole curve and connect your front armhole, okay. So I'm trying to show you that there is this armhole curve inside the pattern master, and that is what I'm going to use. If you have a normal armhole curve, go ahead and use it, otherwise use your free hand, okay. Now I'm going to make use of 3 by 3 inches for my neck width and my neck depth, which is standard. So guys, here I'm making use of this standard neck width and neck depth because I'm making use of a tulle net, okay. But if you are making use of your normal fabric for the yoke, you are going to have to extend the neck width and the neck depth. It depends on the client's body measurements. So guys, next I went ahead to input the nipple to nipple measurement, which is 7 inches. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 inches plus half an inch, 4. So I mark it on the bust point, under bust point, and then the waistline. Now on the bust point line I came down by half an inch, okay. So this is where our dart usually starts for the front, okay. Now I'm going to remove the waist dart because this is a bustier, right. I'm going to make use of 2.5 inches for my dart. So I'm going to input 2 inches on the side front and then half an inch on the waistline. Now I'm going back to the under bust line. I'm going to repeat the same thing, 2 inches on the side front and then a half an inch on the center front. Now once I am done with this, go ahead and connect your line using a straight ruler, and then to the side front you're going to also connect using your curve ruler and repeat the same thing on the center front. Okay, so guys, you can see what we have. Our bustier is coming to shape. So next thing, I'm going to check what I have on the shoulder. I'll divide it into two because I want to have a shoulder princess that right there. So I'm going to divide my shoulder into two. Can you see? So whatever it is that I have, I'll mark it out and then connect it into the bust points. So guys, once I am done with this, the next step I'm going to take is to check what I have in between the bust points and the under busts. So what I have right there is 4 inches. Now I'm going to take my tape upward and mark out 4 inches. Okay, so now for me to tighten the over busts, what I'm going to do is I'll be making use of 1.5 inches to tighten my under bust. This is not constant. You can use 1 inch. It depends on your client body measurement. Okay, you can equally use half an inch, but here I made use of 1.5 inches. So on the side front, I'm going to input 0.75 and repeat the same thing on the center front. So I shared it equally on both sides. And the next step, I'm going to use my curve, okay, and then connect it into the bust point line. Now that I'm done with this, okay, if you don't replace this that you just took out on the armhole, when you want to join this, by the time you join it's going to like short, okay, your fabric is going to short. So what you're going to do is to go ahead and replace it on the armhole and also replace it on the chest line. Okay, so you can see what I actually did right there, and then I'm going to connect my new armhole. Okay, so once I am done marking out this 1.5 inches, I will go ahead and mark out my new armhole. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark out my new armhole, and from there I'm going to connect that leg of the side fronts into the armhole, and then from there I'm also going to equally determine the type of neckline that I want. So first of all, I connected that leg into the first line. Okay, but then my client says she wanted to use this dress often. She wants to be going to church with it, and she might not like a revealing chest. Okay, because if you leave it that way, the two right at the top, that is the yoke, might be exposing her chest, and that is not what she wants. So I went ahead to extend it. Okay, now for me to determine my neck depth, I went ahead from the bust point to go up by 1 inch, and then I'll connect the that leg of the center front into this 1 inch. Okay, and then next thing I'm going to do is to use my curve ruler and then connect these two lines together. You can see what I am doing right there. Next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and add up our sewing allowance and then replace our that intake on the under bust point and the waistline. So I'm making use of 2 inches for my sewing allowance. Now getting to the under bust, I went ahead to replace the 2.5 inches and then added 2 inches for sewing allowance. I repeated the same thing on the waist. So I replaced the 2.5 inches and then placed in 2.5 inches on the waistline. Now, you guys, I always use a bigger sewing allowance right at the down, because from years of experience of sewing, if you don't do this way, okay, that waistline has a way of like shorting, running short of fabric. Okay, I don't know why, but it just happens. So guys, I went ahead to input 2.5 inches right there and then connected all my lines. So you guys, this is it for the front of this bustier with yoke. Okay, so guys, once I am done connecting this, next step I'm going to go ahead and mark out my bust darts. Okay, so from the bust point I'm going to come down by 2 inches, and this bust dart is the difference between the back length and the front length, and I'll go ahead and connect it just like this, and then I will find out the middle in between that line and go up by 1 inch. Okay, so now that I'm done with this, next step is for me to go ahead and add up my shoulder sewing allowance, and then I will connect. Once I was done connecting these, it's time for us to cut this out. So I will start from the neckline and enter into the shoulder and then back to the waistline. Now that I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and open up my bust dart, but to do that I need to open up the waist dart, because for you to close up a dart you need to open up another dart, okay, to make it very easier. Now I've gone ahead to cut out my waist dart and then went ahead to open up my bust dart. Okay, so you can see the way I'm cutting this out, and once I am done I will go ahead and close up the bust dart, and then you need a helping hand to help you close up the dart with a masking tape or your regular tape, transparent tape, whichever it is that you have. All right, so I went ahead to close it up, and then I would cut out the excess allowance. So it's very important that you go up by 1 inch, so that by the time you close it up, whatever is left of it, you go ahead and trim it off. But if you don't do this, you might run short of your pattern paper, and then you would have to bring in another paper and then add up. Okay, so once I was done, I went ahead to continue with my cutouts. Okay, so you can see this is our front pattern. So I will label this the center front, and then I have the side fronts and then my yoke. So guys, once we are done with all of this, remember this is the front, we're going to move over to the back, and the back is going to be very easy because I've outlined all the necessary important lines. Okay, I have the shoulder, the chest line, bust point, and half length. My half length is 15.5 inches, including the half an inch for joining to the down part. I've also marked out the neck depth, which is 1.5 inches. So what I went ahead to do is to divide the armhole depth into two, mark the middle, and then divide my bust circumference and my waist circumference by 4, and then mark it out. And now I'm trying to connect the back armhole. Okay, now once you are done with this, next is from the folded part of your paper, you're going to have to come in by 4 inches, which is for my client's nipple to nipple measurements. Whatever it is that you have for yours, go ahead and mark that out. And now once you are done with that, next step is for you to come down from the chest line by 1 inch. Okay, that is usually where our that for the back start from. So you can see I've went down by 1 inch, and next step I'm going to go ahead and remove my waist dart. For the waist dart, I'm going to make use of 1.5 inches, and I will share it equally on both sides. So to the center back, I'm going to mark out 0.75, and to the side back I'm going to equally mark out 0.75, and I'll go ahead and connect my dart into the 1 inch below the chest line. Now, once I am done with this, for the back, I'm equally going to make use of shoulder princess dart. So go ahead and divide your shoulder into two. Whatever you have right there, mark it out and connect it to the 1 inch below the chest line. Okay. Now, once you are done with this, you're going to go ahead and replace your waist dart, which is 1.5 inches, and then to the chest line go ahead and add your sewing allowance and repeat the same thing to the waistline. Okay, and then go ahead and connect. So guys, I'm equally going to add up my shoulder stitching allowance, so I'm making use of 1/2 inch for that. And once I am done with this, I will go ahead and connect. Now you guys, this is not going to have a zipper. That's why you can see that I don't have anything like zipper allowance right there. So this is going to be a lace up back. In that case, I'm going to reduce the back so that this is going to snatch my client. Okay, and to make it very snatched, right on the chest line, I'm going to come in by 3 inches, and on the waist I'm going to come in by 2 inches, and I'll go ahead and connect. Okay, so I'll go ahead and equally connect this straight into the neckline. Can you see? And that way, this particular place that I've marked out right now, I'm not going to be needing it anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Okay, and my yoke is going to start from the chest line. Okay, so I'm going to cut just like this. Pay good attention to this. So once I am done cutting it out, I'm going to make away with that because I don't need it anymore, and then continue to cut out my back block. Okay, so you guys, you can see what I have, and once I am done with this, I'm going to cut out my yoke, which is starting from the chest line. Okay, so I'm going to label this the yoke, and then go ahead and cut out my darts. Okay, so the smaller piece is going to turn to my center back, and the other remaining part is going to become the side back. Okay, so this is it for the back block. Now I'm going to cut this out on fabric. Okay, so I'm going to cut this into the fabric, which is the satin and then the lining at once. So I've placed them together. Remember to place it on fold while you are cutting this, and then you go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so wherever it's necessary, wherever you have that, go ahead and input 1/2 inch for sewing allowance. So right at the center back and the side back. Okay, I added 1/2 inch for joining the darts together, and right at the center front, I went ahead to add up 1/2 inch at the upper part. Okay, where I will be joining the yoke. All right, so you can see what I am doing. Every other place, I'm not going to be adding any stitching allowance because I've already done that while cutting on my pattern paper. Okay, so guys, this is what we have. Go ahead and notch your under busts. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out my yoke, and I'm using a skin illusion for this yoke. Okay, so you can see I've placed in my yoke, and I folded this yoke into four because I need to double the nets, because this is a net I'm making use of. It's very fragile. Okay, so you need to double it to make it firmer. All right, I hope you guys understand. So you can see what I have. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the back as well. So you can see the back are equally folded into four. So I'm going to cut this out, and remember to also add up sewing allowance wherever is necessary, okay, especially right at the down parts of your yoke, because you're going to be joining it into the bustier. And then for the back, I'm equally going to add up half an inch right at the center of the yoke, okay. You guys understand? So you're going to have half an inch right there, you can see. And you guys, that is it for your bustier with a yoke. It is that simple. Okay, so you guys, if you find this tutorial helpful, please do make sure to give it a thumbs up. Share this particular tutorial so that more people can get to see it. Okay, turn on your post notification to get notified once I upload a new video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.